So let's talk about a topic that always stirs the pot. Should you combine your finances with your partner if you're in a marriage or committed relationship, or should you keep it separate? So some people will say what is mine is yours, and other people will say what is mine, and what is yours is yours. So me and my husband, we do a combination of both. We have combined finances and we also have separate finances. And for us, that works really well, having that hybrid plan or arrangement when it comes to our finances. And so, in today's video, I want to talk about finances in relationships, whether you want to combine your finances, how to navigate communicating about money in a relationship, what to do if your partner is not on board, and also tips for the single girls who are watching this video too. It's all about finding systems that fit your relationship, not what it's expected to be based on other people's opinions. Hey everyone, my name is Bola Shokumbi. I'm the founder and CEO of Clever Girl Finance. I'm also the six-time author of the Clever Girl Finance book series, including my most recent book, Clever Girl Millionaire. Welcome to Clever Girl Finance TV. So, first of all, I have to say, marriage, committed relationships are a team sport. It's not about constantly splitting things 50-50. It's about both of you contributing to your relationship in a way that works for you. So, what does that look like? It could be that one of you earns more money, but one of you works on managing the bills, taking care of the family schedule, looking over the insurance plans. It could be that one of you is a stay at home parent, while one of you is out working. There are different ways that people show up for each other, for their families and marriages, and it's not all about 50-50. Somebody is filling out school forms, meal planning, cleaning the house, making sure that everything is working. There is an invisible workload in every relationship that you don't really see and you don't really quantify, but it all adds up as your contribution or your partner's contribution to your relationship. And when it comes to managing money, it's not just about who brings home the paycheck. This is a joint effort, like I mentioned, a team sport. It's about how both of you keep your household functioning financially for your current financial objectives, your bills, etc., and your future goals and desires that you both have for yourself as a family. And being able to plan your finances jointly and navigate financial matters together takes time, it takes emotional effort, and sometimes there can be conflict involved. And so I wanted to highlight that because a lot of times when people think about contributing to a marriage, especially when it comes to finances, people tend to think about who brings in more money or splitting things 50-50. And that is oftentimes not the only criteria because like I mentioned, there is that invisible workload of other people, of your partner making their own contribution into the relationship or you making your own contribution into the relationship that is not necessarily tied to dollars and cents. So let's talk more about combining finances or not combining finances. And I'll use my husband and I as an example. So I'm going to talk a bit more about the hybrid system that works for my husband and I. So here's how we do it in my house. My husband and I, we have joint accounts for certain things. And then we also have individual accounts for our own things. So we have a mix, which is why I called it a hybrid system. So in our joint account, this is where we put money for bills that we pay together, for our kids, money that's going towards our shared goals and visions, and basically things that we're planning to do together as a family, as a unit for our long-term future or for the current time. Now, our individual accounts are all about us maintaining a level of personal freedom in our marriage. And so in my individual accounts, I put money that I'm going to use for my personal things, like getting my hair done, going out with my friends, buying clothes, etc. Things for Bola that I don't want to have to explain myself about or I don't want to have to answer questions about, especially because it's stuff for me. And the same applies to my husband. He also has his own separate accounts. So I'm not side eyeing his sneaker purchases or his tech purchases or, whatever he spends his money on. And we have that agreement. Earlier on in our marriage, we had a rule that if either of us was going to spend more than $500, we would talk about it. That has since changed, just given different dynamics with our finances and our relationship and how we have grown over time. And so oftentimes when we need to talk about how we're spending money, we kind of know that, okay, this is something that I should talk to my partner about because of this goal or this bill or etc. And so the way we look at it is his money, it is my money, it is all our money. Even in the individual accounts, it is still his money, my money, our money. It's all our money. But we keep that money separate in separate individual accounts for, like I mentioned earlier, the ability to maintain that personal freedom and not feel burdened by having to constantly explain ourselves to each other about the simple things we're buying or doing for ourselves. And having this system in place, the joint accounts and the combined accounts, that hybrid system has saved us so many arguments. There were times earlier on when, we would use our joint accounts for individual expenses and a bill will come in and it will drain the account because we hadn't discussed that one of us was going to spend this money on an individual expense and then a bill was coming, etc. So having this hybrid system has saved us from so many arguments and so many disagreements, and our system has evolved over time. So given the example I'm using of my husband and I regarding combining accounts and also having separate accounts, the bottom line here, the key here is that when it comes to managing money in your relationship, it's about creating a system that works for you and your partner. Whether it is having fully combined accounts, whether it's having a hybrid like my husband and I do, partially combined, partially separate, or whether it's having completely separate accounts. You have to figure out what works for you. Everybody else out there is not in your relationship. They are not in your marriage, and they really need to mind their business while you do what works for you. By the way, if you're enjoying this conversation, please hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and tell your best girlfriends about Clever Girl Finance. And also check out my new book, Clever Girl Millionaire. I have an entire chapter specific to this topic titled Single and Slaying and Together and Winning. And I deep dive into navigating finances in a relationship, or if you're single, to help you build long-term wealth and achieve your goals. You can also stop by clevergirlfinance.com and check out our over 30 plus completely free courses and join our awesome community in our course platform. Plus, you also get to schedule a free mentor call when you join our free course platform. Okay, let's get back to the video. So far I've talked about, creating a financial system for yourself, assuming that you and your partner are on the same page. But what if your partner is not on board yet? Perhaps they're not interested in saving or budgeting. They don't want to have money conversations. They just don't want to be in that space or have those conversations about money with you, or it leads to argument after argument after argument. What do you do then? So one thing I know for sure is that you cannot fight somebody and you cannot nag somebody into building wealth. They have to want to do it with you. They have to want to be on this journey. They have to want to achieve those goals for themselves as well. But you can lead by example. So what does that mean? First of all, start by having open and honest conversations about money. When it comes to money in relationships, transparency and communication are key. Even if you're having separate accounts, it's so important to talk about your financial state with your partner, talk about the bills that need to get paid, share your goals and your visions and your plans with them, share what you're learning as a way to motivate them and set an example of how you are working towards your financial goals. Those conversations, that communication, and that transparency is so key and so foundational to building a solid structure for your partner and yourself over the long term when it comes to achieving your financial goals together. If you find that you're constantly in conflict with your partner, it is worth seeking a third party like a therapist or couples counseling, specifically counselors that specialize in money matters, because sometimes it could be the conflict could be coming because both of you were raised differently around money. You have different ideas about how money should be managed and you haven't been able to communicate effectively. There's so many reasons that people don't realize that could lead to conflict around money in a relationship. And so sometimes it's worth sitting down and just exploring what the deeper reason behind the conflict is with a therapist or a counselor. Now, if your partner is not on board at all, they do not want to participate and they've told you they're not participating and they're not in this money game at all, keep building. You keep building on your own. Just because your partner is not on board doesn't mean you should pause your saving, your investing, your planning. No, you keep building. It could be that they have a change of heart or they get past whatever is blocking them and they get on board. Or it could be that perhaps they don't, but you still want to keep building. And based on that, make sure that you are protecting yourself financially as well, no matter what. And what does that look like? This means keeping records, financial records specifically. This means knowing where all of your money is, both of your money is at all times if you have access to it. It means that you want to make sure that your name is on assets. And it also means, like I mentioned earlier, that you have a financial plan with or without your partner, especially if they are not on board. And this is important because love alone is not a financial plan. You've all heard that statistic that 50% of marriages end because of money matters. And that is the truth, right? There are many relationships where people just can't get along, can't make things work because after love, there's life, there's money, there's bills, there are kids, there's all these things you have to deal with after love. And if you can't make it work, then you don't want to get to a point where years have passed and you're like, why didn't I do this for myself? Because you're waiting on your partner who was not going to get on board in the first place. So, what if you are single, you're in your single season right now, or perhaps you're not interested in partnering up, and that's perfectly fine? Let me say this out loud: being single is a superpower. I remember when I was single on my wealth building journey in the early days, I made all my decisions for myself. Nobody could tell me what to do. I invested when I wanted to invest. I saved what I wanted to invest, what I wanted to save. I knew what my bills were. There were no surprises. I didn't have to worry about anybody else's behavior with money. It was me, myself, and I. Obviously, when you're single, you also are the sole earner, right, for yourself. And so you bear the responsibility of making sure that you're making right decisions and you're putting money aside for yourself and you have a backup plan, but you're also the one who makes the decisions and nobody is questioning you or making you feel any kind of way because you are the one that gets to make the choices. And I think this is great because you're moving on your own timeline and you're basing it on your own priorities. So there's no rush into merging your finances. If you're single right now and things are working for you with your finances, keep building, keep adding onto them. If you're saving a certain way and it's working for you, or if there are things you need to learn, this is a great time to start learning about how to save more, how to budget better, how to invest, and all those foundational things about money to help you build wealth long term, whether you are single or in a relationship. And when you empower yourself with all this knowledge, the great thing is that when you are in a relationship, when you start building a life with somebody else, you can bring everything that you have learned to the table and use it as a way to empower and motivate and inspire them as well on your journey to building long-term wealth. So, in summary, when it comes to money in relationships, there is no one size fits all. The size that works is the size that fits the two of you together. No third parties. But also remember that in a relationship, it is not competition, right? Teamwork over competition. You are building this life together. You're building this long-term vision together. You're building wealth together, no matter what it looks like in the way you have it structured. So when it comes to your relationship, your marriage, what is your system? Do you combine your finances? Do you have a hybrid system like my husband and I, or do you keep everything separate? And when it comes to talking about money with your partner, what is that like? Share in the comments. I would love to know, and I will give my feedback and my thoughts as well. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you on the next video.